we want to help the business owner realize that their biggest and best asset is actually their business, and that you can make it attractive, you can make it sellable, and your business can be the vehicle that takes you to where you've dreamed you wanted to go. You just haven't dared ever say it. You've been either ashamed or you've kind of seen that I'm not on the trajectory to get to those levels of wealth. But when treated as an asset, your business can take you to that if you so desire. And then we do everything else around that. So we're tax planning around that. We're asset protection around it. We're helping them diversify the risk outside of it. We're helping them get life insurance and all the insurances to connect to it so that the wealth that's being created is durable.
Welcome to the Aligned Operator Podcast by BellaConnections. I am your host, Michele Lambert, and today we are going to interview Justin Maxwell, the financial wizard himself. Justin is an investor, professional speaker, and partner at Big Life Financial, where he helps business owners optimize taxes, scale strategically, and build lasting wealth. He has a passion for empowering entrepreneurs. Justin also specializes in exit strategy planning, wealth preservation, and financial structures that maximize business impact. He's been featured in organizations like Vistage, Remarkable, and Mindshare, as well as Four Rooms. That's actually where I met him. I've heard him speak and had a chance to really dive in. I'm like, man, you guys got to hear what Justin has to offer. He shares really actionable insights to help leaders keep more of what they earn while preparing for sustainable growth. He's a sought-after speaker. Justin brings clarity to complex financial strategies, blending practical expertise with a mission-driven approach to wealth creation and legacy. So we're super excited to have you here today, Justin. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, really grateful and excited to be here with you, Michele, and I'm excited for our conversation and seeing the value we can produce for your listeners.
Absolutely. I know it's going to be good. Justin's lent me some time of his own, just kind of going through tax strategy and exit strategy and what to even prepare for that. Because, I'm not quite there yet. But at some point, building out just my wealth planning, everything. So Justin's a wealth of knowledge and I'm excited for this. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey? Like, how did you get started in financial planning and, entrepreneurship and building Big Life Financial?
Yeah, it's when people think of financial people, they're the journey that they're expecting to hear is not the journey that I'm about to tell you because it's completely opposite direction for me. So my entire life I was on the trajectory of I'm going to work for someone else. I'm going to be a college professor. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to have as much education as possible and basically never get out of school and just be in school teaching and being a professor the whole time. That was the way I was thinking. That was not necessarily the way I was raised, but the way I was raised dictated that we do good things, we do good work, but it wasn't on value creation, it wasn't in entrepreneurship, it wasn't in business. It was by just being good at school and being a participant in the workforce. So that was the direction I was on. I was a school teacher for a while I was doing my master's degree. And as I was doing a master's degree, I discovered that I hate doing actual physical research. I had a window opened up to me where I didn't know what I was going to do anymore because that was the path that I was going to do for a really long time. And I happened to be invited to an event by a neighbor of mine. And at that event, I heard someone speak. And for the first time in my life, I was opened up to the world of entrepreneurship and being able to create your own value and be able to make your own money and not be dictated by other people. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs don't start that way and they don't think that way. But for me, that was the first time in my life that was ever even a possibility. I like to describe it as almost a spiritual awakening for myself of like, it was just this huge burst of like all this great stuff that I could be helping people with and doing that I had no idea even existed. And so that's where I began. It wasn't a quick journey that just all of a sudden I had this big manifestation and all of a sudden I'm doing financial services and taxes and all that stuff. It took a long time to get to where I am today, but that was the journey that brought me to where we are sitting and speaking today.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love that, you started with the idea of wanting to educate and teach people, and you're still getting to do that in this new way. And in a way that, also allows you to be your own boss and the entrepreneurial side and help people in this way. I think that's really, really powerful. How did you take all this and like you said it's been a long journey. I can only imagine. Where did the Big Life Financial come from? Because I know you've partnered with some really, some other really great people. And I'm just kind of curious, where did that start in your journey?
Yeah, I feel very, very blessed in all reality because I just feel like every move I make to take action on something opens up a door to a new opportunity for me to develop and grow and expand the business. And so, ironically, because that window is open to me, I started going to entrepreneurial events. I started just doing things in the entrepreneurial world. I did a lot of real estate things. And I went to another event, and that same speaker was there, and he had a call to action at this event, and the first one he did not. And the call to action led me to my business partner. It just so happened that my business partner was related to the speaker, and the speaker was doing some joint venture work with him. And so that's how it just ended up being that I didn't even get to meet the speaker. I went to my business partner. We had a great discussion. Nothing really came from it, minus the fact that it put a seed in my brain of this might be the thing I want to do. But it took me a year and a half-ish later before I called him and said, I just don't know what it took to get to where you are. Like, what steps do you take? How do you burst into this industry to actually help people doing this? What licenses, what things do you need to have? How do you go about doing this? And then that call sparked me partnering. Big Life Financial was started by my business partner, Derek Van Ness. And so he had already started it. And I'm just became a part of the team and eventually a partner in the business over time as value increased. And so I found, and this can be helpful for people, I think it's a good lesson, that when you don't know what to do next, you just go do things and you network and you have conversations, and then the doors open for new opportunities, and you just keep zigzagging along until you find your path that's in alignment with what you feel you should be doing. So that's all I've done over and over again. For example, like my professional speaking stuff didn't, like, it happened by happenstance too. Derek got COVID. He was supposed to speak at an event. It was the night before. He sends me, and then like he just gave me a slide deck and just said, like, go teach this. So all I did was like teach, but like it opened up to me that like I can resonate a message on stage that people are listening to, they are emotionally connected to, they take action on. So it gave me insight into something, a skill that I didn't even know that I had, but I took action by showing up and speaking and taking advantage of an opportunity in front of me. So that's how it just keeps everything I could keep going, and I don't want to bore your listeners, but every step that I have that's led me to this conversation has been because I took advantage of something that was placed in front of me, and it just opened up another door, another partnership, another idea.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's a really powerful lesson for all entrepreneurs is just, we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and not necessarily knowing what that next step is, but following the path and trusting that that next piece is going to open up. And also, like you mentioned, is you didn't go into this saying, hey, I want to be the co-founder. You went into this like, let's work together. And then you eventually were adding so much value and able to help them. And, synergistically things started happening so that you ended up becoming a co-owner and a co-founder in this. And a lot of people get real stuck up on that in the beginning is like, oh, I'm not a co-owner. I'm not going to like take that ownership responsibility. But by doing so, you grew into something really, really powerful with this company.
I have 5 business partners, and every single one of them, it's happened that exact same way. It was like, how can we help each other? Like, what are some ways that we can do some synergy together? We started having dinner together. We started doing more things together, and it just started making sense. Like, you know what? We're going to be better together than we are separate. So let's just join forces and build this thing into a very large empire that just solves every aspect of a business owner's journey. So 100% agree with what you just said.
Love that. And I am a big proponent of like we can do great things alone, but we go so much further together. And to bring the expertise of 5 different leaders like this is huge. So can you just like give us a quick rundown of like what are like the main areas that each of you do and really help businesses with?
Yeah, so oftentimes entrepreneurs, they're going to hear the word family office thrown out very, very often, but it's very ambiguous because everyone has a little bit slight definition. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm just going to define it the way that we define it. But we believe that this methodology of planning is the way that business owners should have synced up. Is oftentimes is what you encounter out in the wild, out in the world, is you're going to encounter people that are trying to sell you investments. You're going to encounter people that are trying to sell you insurance. You're going to encounter people that are trying to get you to become their tax client. But all of those professionals are all needed for you to create the generational output and income and wealth that you want in the future. But when they're all siloed together, you could be meeting 3 different people with 3 different philosophies that might not be in alignment with what you're doing, but they're really good at sales and they get you to buy into this and that. And it produces good results. It can produce a result that there's something there. It's not like you lose money or you've been scammed. It produces a result. But is what we have found is that when there's cohesion amongst all those professionals, which is what happens inside of a family office, where all the professionals are in alignment with where the business owner wants to go and where that wealth is and what the trajectory and vision of the family is, when they're all aligned with that, you don't have inefficiency. You're always going to have inefficiency, but you're not going to have holes the way you're going to have them by having the siloed professionals. So as what we have done is we've created an environment where we can give the everyday entrepreneur family office level connection and communication so that they can lead that team, lead us to where they want to go and reach their biggest and best ambition. So that includes, we have an accounting firm, we have an RIA wealth management firm, we have an insurance brokerage, we do estate planning. But most importantly, which we're honestly most proud of, is that we don't just try and take money and get it to go to other people's assets, which is what a lot of financial advisors do. And they try and take money and we got to invest in this and that. We want to help the business owner realize that their biggest and best asset is actually their business, and that you can make it attractive, you can make it sellable, and your business can be the vehicle that takes you to where you've dreamed you wanted to go. You just haven't dared ever say it. You've been either ashamed or you've kind of seen that I'm not on the trajectory to get to those levels of wealth. But when treated as an asset, your business can take you to that if you so desire. And then we do everything else around that. So we're tax planning around that. We're asset protection around it. We're helping them diversify the risk outside of it. We're helping them get life insurance and all the insurances to connect to it so that the wealth that's being created is durable and has a high probability of actually coming to fruition.
That's huge, and that's super important to have you guys all collaborating on that and all speaking to each other and able to come up and follow the strategy together so that you're in cohesion like that. I think is really powerful. And I know I know you have quite a few specialties, but some of the things that I've heard you speak on and share, and since this episode's probably coming out close to the end of the year, is especially around tax strategy and how to be prepared for end of the year. Like, what are some things, like, do you have like a top tip that you could share with us on something that would save people or that they could consider for saving on taxes this year?
Yeah, I think I really like this topic, and it's really, really important for business owners to realize that there's tiers to your accountant, because everyone tells you when you start your business, you got to get a good accountant. But good, who's defining what good is? So good when you're making $50,000 a year is one thing, but good when you're making $500,000 a year is a completely different thing. And honestly, it's probably in most instances going to be a completely different team and person. The issue that I find with a lot of entrepreneurs is they grow up with an accountant, they get to know them, that person's really intimate because taxes, money is very intimate. So this person is someone you've relied on, trusted, but they're not at the level of where you want to go, and they're not going to take you there. So they're going to treat you just like they treat all their W-2 employees, just like they treat all their middle class clients. So the one advice I'll give another one that's actually going to be addressed, but the one advice I'd love to give is be willing to put your best outcome ahead of the relationship you have with this person that's been with you along the way. It doesn't mean you have to not be friends anymore, but you have to acknowledge that it's your wealth, it's your impact, it's your vision, it's your dreams that can often be sacrificed at the expense of not wanting to you're not dump or fire, but just move on or level up from this person that's been with you for a really long time.
I just want to add to that is like that is an incredibly important distinction to be making and something people need to keep in mind because it does become a very close, intimate relationship. And I've seen in the past where a client that I worked with for over 10 years, they had a bookkeeper that was referred to them by their accountant, and they'd all been working together for so long. Come to find out, it's been over 10 years since I left, and the company, so it was originally a brick and mortar, and then we built an online business. And as we were doing a lot of that, the skill set and expertise changed a lot, and also the growth and how much was coming in. But what ended up happening also was there was a lot of things where people weren't feeling as valued, and then they ended up taking advantage, and the entire brick and mortar was actually lost because of how the books and the accounting were handled by somebody who was maybe very great in the beginning and, was close to them in a familiar way. And then this is an extreme example, but what you need here versus what you need here, brick and mortar, online, 50K, 100K, like a month, like it's big, big difference.
And I like to, because I oftentimes people don't realize the dramatic effect that ignoring this is for people. So when you're making $50,000, like you're paying little to no taxes, maybe you'll pay $5,000 a year, and $5,000 a year at that point, it feels very painful. But when you're making 500,000, like you're paying $150,000 in taxes. And if your accountant isn't skilled enough to know how to reduce that proactively with you, you're just giving that money to the IRS for no reason. Like you could be doing things that could be lowering that amount you give them, but you're not, because your accountant is, it's not that they're, again, this isn't about ranking who's bad and who's good. It's there's levels to this. So this accountant helps people at this level, and then you have to jump up to an accountant who's going to help people at your income level. And it's not always like synchronistic, because at some level you can start doing everything at once. But the idea is that you're giving away tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to the IRS unnecessarily, and it could be kept. It just takes proactive planning. It takes a team of people. It's not doing illegal things. You just have to do things proactively to reduce the tax bill. But when you look at that over a 30 or 40-year timeline, you're giving away millions of dollars that should be in your life that are not, because they went to the IRS. You lost the opportunity to grow them and to compound them because they went to the IRS instead. So by ignoring the small thing, what people think is it's not that much in savings, or I hate paying taxes, but this is my person, you're actually giving away, oftentimes for the entrepreneur community that we work with, 7+ figures in future wealth because you chose not to pay attention to taxes today.
Absolutely. Or potentially losing a multi 7-figure, business because you're not paying attention to them. And that tax, those tax bills come back later. And if you don't have it to come, like if you don't have it to pay, like big problems can happen. So, what are some of the like tax strategies that you're seeing working, especially right now, that you're really like implementing for your clients around this time of year, or just this year in general?
Yeah, I want to give two answers to this, because I do want to give a strategy. I know people like telling the strategy, but I want to set up. I want people to operate inside of a framework that produces tax savings long term, not just chase the one big strategy that you can kind of look for at the end of the year. So I'll give you the big strategy that you can kind of go for the end of the year, but I want you to get into a framework that will repeat itself, so you don't repeat yourself next year where you're looking for the one thing again. So the framework is that you want to meet proactively with your accountant. We recommend it needs to be 4 times a year. So every quarter, you're not just talking to your accountant around the past. You're talking on what is the projection saying our income is going to be? What is that income going to produce in taxable income? Okay, that's the worst case scenario. What strategies should we be working on to then implement to make that tax bill go down? But if you're having that conversation early, you know how much money you should be saving to buy things that are going to make that tax bill go down. You're not shocked or shell shocked by, wow, that's way bigger than I thought, and now I'm upset. Like every quarter, you're on this rhythm of planning that allows you to be thinking about how can I reduce my tax bill. So it's not a one or twice a year thing where you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it on a quarterly rhythm. And that rhythm, we have found, makes it a lot easier to save taxes, both in the short term and the long term. So put yourself on a quarterly rhythm with your accountant. And if they're unwilling to doing it, then that's a telltale sign they're not they're at a level below you. So you have to find someone that's willing to do that. But that's the first advice I would say for saving taxes. But when it comes to the end of year planning like this, and you haven't been doing the quarterly plannings, the recommendation, the things you can do are look to find a group of people that can help you buy depreciating assets. Things where you can get Section 179 and bonus depreciation really hitting hard for you. So these are going to be assets that are going to be purchased. They're usually wealth creating assets, but sometimes they're donation assets. But buying things of that nature. So that could be real estate. It could be oil. It could be natural gas. Now, I'm not trying to give you investment advice. You have to be an accredited investor oftentimes to do those things. But go find someone that has the qualifications and the licenses so you can have that conversation with them and determine whether that's a good fit for you. But those types of things reduce taxes, or has the potential, doesn't always, has the potential to dramatically reduce what you pay in taxes. And oftentimes you end up with an asset that will produce cash flow or appreciate in the future as well. So that's those types of tax planning strategies are the ones that have the biggest swipes and wins. But again, you have to have the conversation with someone that's competent and knows your situation and knows your risk tolerance. Like, it's not something you just go do, but find that team that's aligned with where you want to go. And if they can provide that advice and it does work out for you, you can significantly reduce your tax bill by doing those things.
Absolutely. I remember some of the advice you had given to the community last year around end of year taxes and certain investing potential or options, that you could do. I remember one person saying it saved them like hundreds of thousands on taxes. And the quarterly planning, I think, is so important. I think there's this book called The 12-Week Year. And it's basically like planning 12 weeks at a time. Like, you can have your big picture plan for the whole year, but you're really looking at everything every 12 weeks and what is and isn't working and planning for the next phase. And your tax planning, your accounting, your projections, that is all a big part of it, because as you scale, like, you want to be able to take that money and reinvest, build wealth, all the things that you're helping people with. So would you say, in terms of that, I mean, what's like one of the biggest mistakes you see business owners making when it comes to like tax and wealth planning? Is it just skipping it?
Yeah, so number one is just like ignoring it, sticking their head in the sand, and kind of like, I have it. They'll say I have a CPA, it's being handled, but they don't, like, all they've done is abdicate responsibility to that person. So like, when you abdicate responsibility to people, it might work, but it's probably not going to be working at prime level. You have to treat your financial team just like you treat your employees. Like, you're delegating responsibility, you're involved, you're seeing the vision, they're executing, you're getting reports. Doesn't mean you're operating for them, but you have to lead them just like you lead employees. So that's number one, is what you said. But the other one that I think that a lot of people mistake is they hate paying taxes so much that they're looking for this huge one silver bullet solution that's going to solve all their tax problems. And when you start looking for that, you're going to start doing things that are probably going to start creeping closer and closer to not legal, and doing things that are going to get you in trouble with the IRS. So they're going to get mad at you just because you're so obsessed with finding the one big thing that you're going to look everywhere and it'll present itself because you're looking for it. I find that to be a mistake entrepreneurs make as well. And then the last mistake I found is, just because someone else has done it and had success with it doesn't mean that it's legal, doesn't mean that it's right for you. So you can't cite other people because the IRS might not have just gotten around to it. You have to realize the IRS is severely understaffed. The chance of audits are extremely low. But just because someone else has done it doesn't mean you should do it. Like, there's a lot of great legal things that you can do: entity structuring, buying assets, combining estate planning. Like, there's so many cool things you can do to save taxes that are right down the middle, that you can defend or defensible and have documentation for. But when you're trying to do it on, I need the one thing every year, you're going to probably step on the one landmine every so often that actually isn't legal. So just create the rhythm and create the team that's going to help you execute that rhythm and not get you in trouble. I hope that was helpful.
Incredibly helpful. All of this has been. I'm really appreciative of you sharing, because I know it actually brought up for me is when we were at the event, somebody was actually telling me about how they paid a lawyer, like $20,000 to make this letter that they sent to the IRS to opt them out of taxes. Like, they don't ever have to pay them. And I'm like, I'm sure maybe at some level that worked for some bit for some people. It's scary. I feel like I would not trust that in the long term. I feel like it's not something that's safe, and a lot of people fall into that trap. Like, oh, that's such a great idea, let me go try it. It just doesn't. You got to be really careful. They'll come and get you way worse.
Yeah, 100%. And the problem is that people, when lawyers will leverage their authority, I'm a lawyer, I'm a tax attorney, to get people to do things they shouldn't do just by saying tax attorney, because in our mind, we're thinking bookkeeper, CPA, tax attorney. This is like the person that knows everything. They're never going to lead anyone wrong. But just because they're a tax attorney does not mean that they're going to give good advice. And the problem with that statement is that there are great tax attorneys that do extraordinary work and can protect you. But whenever you start hearing things around fully eliminate taxes and just this one thing, or send this one letter, or this one entity, or this one strategy is going to solve it all, Like that should start putting alarm bells in people's ears. Honestly, the best, if you really don't want to pay a lot in taxes, go move to Puerto Rico and then buy a whole bunch of real estate, and that would solve your tax problem. So like if you really are like obsessed with it, like I talked with a gentleman, he makes over $50 million a year in income, and he pays 1.8% on taxes because he lives in Puerto Rico and he buys real estate. That's complete. Both of those things are like dead center. He's just stacking them on top of each other to make his tax bill be astronomically low. But not everyone wants to move to Puerto Rico, and there's lots of other stuff. But if you were going to say a silver bullet thing, like that's the one thing that you can do at the current moment, and we're in 2025 right now, that would work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want to move to Puerto Rico, but no, I'm kidding. There's a lot of reasons, maybe going back and forth, but yeah, it's wild some of the things that people will do to try to avoid them, and or like avoid them fully. Like, but I think you should be optimizing for how much you're paying so you can reinvest into your business, build your wealth, all the things that you're actually helping people do. And I'm curious, like in terms of that, like and especially like I guess exit strategies too, because I know you guys work with a lot of exit strategies as well. Like, how does all this play into when you're helping somebody set up an exit strategy? And how far in advance are you really having them start to look at these tax planning periods and wealth building and all that?
Yeah, this is I really like this. So this should help connect it all together on like how this gets really synergistic. So number one, we really want to find out what it is that you as the entrepreneur actually want. How much wealth, what type of house, what does your family doing? What are you doing on a daily basis? Are you donating time? Are you still working? Are you looking for cash flow? Like what is it that you want your dream life to be in the future? And that future can be 5 years, it can be 30 years. Like just define it of what you want to create and the impact you want to have so that we can see what you actually want. And for our experiences is that exercise is very difficult for entrepreneurs because most entrepreneurs grew up middle class or come from poverty, and they still have this relationship with money and wealth that if I get too big, I'm evil, and wealthy people are lazy, wealthy people didn't earn it, wealthy people got lucky. So like we don't want to state that we want that. And at the same then so we get all this, we'll just say random things like I want to have a $5 million exit, or I want a $10 million net worth. But that doesn't mean anything. The number doesn't mean anything. It's more important to define the life that you want, and then we can backfill and how much money do we have to live that life on an annual basis. Once we know that, we can then construct everything that we just talked about across what does your business need to look like to make that happen at a high probability? What is the wealth outside and the investments you're doing have to look like to create that outcome? What are the tax situations to accelerate all that to look like? How much protection should we have to make sure that becomes a reality when we actually make this come to pass? So everything starts to synergistically come together. But let me give an example so you can see this in real time with a real client. So we had a client that defined that they wanted X amount of life, but it was really because they wanted to drive political change. And to drive political change in America, you have to have money, because money gives you access to rooms. And then once you're in the room, then you can start being an advocate and start, I hate the word, lining the pockets of the Congress people that you want to influence. But you have to be in the rooms with them. And to get in the rooms, you have to have the money. So they were trying to create a $250 million net worth in about a 10-year timeline. They had an extraordinary business already. What has happened is their business was nowhere near they were having an low 8-figure exit, but that's nowhere near 250 million. Like that's extraordinary where they were. They would, in comparison to most Americans, they would have been grateful of like we would have just taken it and ran. But because they want to change political nature around this one thing that they feel is wrong and it's tied to their business, like it's very integrated in everything they're doing, they see it as a mission to get to that level so then they can be in those rooms and create political change for the long term for their customers across law and legality. And that's the way that they're thinking. They don't want to sell at this point, even though most people would be grateful for the sell. So we reverse engineered a pathway, and then the other thing we have to acknowledge here is unless we get tremendously lucky with an investment outside the business and it's a unicorn and it just goes through the moon and we got into NVIDIA early and put all our dollars into it and everything just goes through, we are going to be hard pressed to be able to create a $250 million net worth by just investing alone. So that leaves us we're at a fork in the road. Do we keep doing what we're doing, or do we actually want this outcome? And so in this situation, they wanted that outcome. So we helped them create an investment company that goes out and acquire businesses that we're going to bolt onto their enterprise. And then over time, as you bolt them on, you're going to get synergies and connections, and the EBITDAs are going to rise, which they're going to increase multiples. And so now we know the path of when we can exit and hit 250 million. Like it's going to be a 3 to 5 year period, and we'll be able to pull it off. But to connect this back to taxes, the cool thing is we also saved this client about $150,000 in taxes. They take that cash and they bought another business with it. So they took the savings that was going to go to the IRS and they leveraged it into their wealth plan that helped them reach their exit target. So now everything's all interconnected. We're still pulling off a little bit of cash and investing outside the business, but it's more of like a hedge of like if everything goes wrong, we have wealth that's going to get us back to where we were when we were at the $20 million mark. But it's more of a protection piece versus trying to drive everything into investments and hoping that it will produce some magical outcome. So I know that was a little bit long, but I think it showed the interconnectedness of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to plan for people.
Yeah. And talk about incredibly impressive and powerful. Like that is so cool that you get to, be able to support that kind of change and ability for somebody to try to make the change that they wish to, the mission and being able to actually support them and getting into the rooms they need to really make the kind of changes they need. I mean, it stinks, how our government's kind of set up in a way that the lining the pockets and all that stuff. But when you put it in that way of like, hey, we've got this, let's add all these on so that we can get you to the correct evaluation in order for you to really be able to make the change that is your mission. I think that's incredibly powerful and really cool that you guys are able to help with that. That's huge.
And then the amazing thing is I think it's amazing. We can build some entity structuring stuff. We can put stuff in early so that when they have the $250 million exit, we're already mitigating capital gains like by the structure we're putting in. So they're not going to pay 25% of the $250 million to the government. They'll pay 10 or 5%. So they're significantly reducing that, which just means it's more money to then do what they want to do and then enact the change that they want to enact. And that's the shift that I want a lot of business owners to go through, is because most people don't think this way. Most people are thinking, I want to get to age 65, I want to have X amount of dollars in my account, and I just want to live off of that for the rest of my life. And when you change it to, I want this life and I want to instill this impact, what's it going to take to make that happen? And then we build around that. You're not stuck on living a middle, because that's all middle class people do what I just described when it comes to retirement. You're doing what changes the world, which means gives you more fulfillment, gives your family more fulfillment, and gives you more money in life and wealth, and like everything starts to become synergistic. And it's not that it always works out. Like things go wrong still, people still die, people still get disabilities, the markets still get disrupted. But because we're thinking this way, we can put things in place to help prevent those types of things from happening. And we're just trying to increase the probability that you actually reach your dream number, your dare not say life that you've wanted but didn't really feel comfortable ever saying.
Absolutely. And I think I really like the distinction is like where you guys start, because I feel like this is where most businesses need to start too, is like what is the actual lifestyle, what is the life choice, like what is the vision outside of just the money? Because when you're focusing on, oh, I just want to have this much money, it's almost like an ego thing, like I want to exit at 100 million. But then when you look at like some people, they'll turn around and they'll look at it like, okay, why do you actually want to hit that number? Like, is that your ego? Are you actually trying to make a change for it? And you will not always, if your number one reason is to have just to like make that money, a lot of times it's a lot harder and you're going to run into more roadblocks if you don't have like an actual drive or mission or passion behind the why. Don't get me wrong, money is incredibly important. We all know that, it's an energy exchange. It's a huge part of life and it opens doors, but understanding the why behind it, and I think you guys helping people with that to even get to the goal, is incredibly powerful too.
I really like what you said there, because it's true, and it's something that it requires a mindset shift, because that's not how people think. And it's our experience that, because here's the problem is Like everyone can point to someone that didn't think about impacts first or what they wanted to do, and someone got to 100 million or got to a billion. But the is what I've found, and this is just an observation. Like I'm just going to throw. I don't want to throw people on the bus, but I'm going to throw them under the bus because I just disagree with their philosophy. So, like Bill Gates, for example, tremendously impactful entrepreneur, made billions of dollars, one of the wealthiest people in the history of our planet. And because he's not connected to the money, it like happens. Like he didn't have a purpose for it. So he's decided I just have to give it away. Like I'm not going to give it to my kids. I'm not going to give it to anyone else because there's no connectedness as to why I built this empire in the first place. Like it's not synced into his soul. And this is very common with a lot of actors and celebrities and really wealthy people. But my idea is that why would you, because money gets wasted when you don't earn it. So is what happens, and I apologize to people. I love charitable people. I think it's amazing. But money alone doesn't solve charitable problems. It's money plus people that solve charitable problems. So if you truly care about charity and giving away money, you need to have the money and then also have the people to enact the impact the money is going to actually create on the situation, because the people are actually what do it and the money funds it. But just giving money to things, it's just going to get wasted just as much and as fast as if you gave it to your kids who had no connection to the money. So create the why of what you want to do. And I really encourage people, put your vision 150 years away where you're long dead and you're still pushing out what is the why behind our money, so that it carries on and the value creation isn't just going to disappear like it does with so many people that just fall into money or didn't do what I just described and kind of just had it appear to them. So that's the way I think. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I find it to be helpful to do that.
No, I love that. I love that. And that's actually one of my questions, is one of your financial truths that you believe in that most people disagree with. So that was like a perfect answer right there, because, it really is. And I love the framing of like what do you want your money to be doing in 150 years? Because we all know those kids and people who have just been handed money and how they treat it versus the people who have actually gone out there and built it themselves or have a purpose around it. And it really is, like, I'm a big fan of charity. I would love to have more time to actually hands-on be doing a lot of this stuff and a lot of the things that actually make an impact. So being able to send money, but also being able to have time to do it, and or fund the right people who you can trust to actually see through where where the finances are going, and are they going in a way that's actually impactful. So I think that's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful way to look at it, is what do you want your money to be doing and your legacy to be in 150 years?
And if you really are passionate about charity, because I love charity. I think it's an extraordinary thing, and like I have huge visions for the charitable giving that we're going to do. But always find a way to tie a human component to it. So whether that's you, your children, your grandchildren, you start the charity, you train the officers to behave in a certain way so that the people are solving the problems, because the money does not solve the problems. And so many people think that if I just throw money at something, it will be fixed. It's the people and the ingenuity of the person. So money plus people solves problems, not money alone.
You're saying that because that does not just apply to charity. That is literally to everything. Like you see everywhere, like money's not going to solve your problems. It's not. It's not. Without connection, without people, without relationships, it does not. And money can just add more problems if you're not handling it properly, which is, you have to have, like you said, you have to have a reason behind it, the vision, the mission, what's it actually going to be, in the right people to help see that through. So speaking of people and money, now I've got one more question for you that's it's a little out there. So in terms of all of this and everything you guys have been working on, where do you really see like AI and tech innovation coming into this financial planning for entrepreneurs and charities and everything else?
Yeah, so this is a really great question. I hope I can answer it well. If I don't get it, I apologize, but I'm gonna try my best here. So number one, if you do any trading, like AI is already like most trades that happen inside of the stock market, for example, it's all done by bots and AI. So it's all algorithms that are telling when to sell, when to do shorts, when to do puts, when to do like all the options and create the options, and when to trade when and how. It's like you're if you're doing it manually now, like yes, there's people that do extraordinarily well. Like we probably both know Jeremy Newsom. He does it extraordinarily well. He teaches a great program. He tells you how to do it. But the more bots get, the better the bots get, the less you're going to get, the less you can take advantage of that. It will just make it harder for you to win in that environment. You can still win because there's still principles and frameworks to follow. But number one, that's going to happen, and it already is happening. But number two is like we believe that taxes are going to be filed via AI and robotics. But the key is that when you have the perspective of most middle class people, they think the value is in the filing of taxes, but the value is in the planning leading up to the taxes. So the way we're using it is it's going to help us reduce our cost, do more work, help more people that we can apply our planning to. So it's the leveraging of AI inside of the space that we operate that will enable us to help more people, be in front of more people, do things faster, do things more economically, less cost for people, so they get to put all this together at a less of a financial output so that their wealth can just grow even more exponentially. That's the way I view the AI is going to, definitely going to have an impact. I just don't think it's going to affect the everyday filer tax person, because that's all they do anyway, is they just file taxes. If you're that person and you're in tax space, you probably should be a little afraid. If you're just an advisor that just moves people's money around without giving advice or depth to what the money should be doing, like AI will replace that. But it's the human connection to the leveraging of AI to get more people that I think will help us not be fearful of the future.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And to think of it as like a lot, I mean, it goes for marketing and operations too. Like we're hiring more and more people who are utilizing AI, and it's the people who know how to use it and how to use it right to help their people, to help advise and to walk their people through what's needed to happen. It's just leveraging with AI. And it's so funny you mentioned Jeremy Newsom. I got his book at the event, and I'm so excited to read it. When he first came up to me, his thing is, I just help people make a lot of money. This is a great way to do it. So is his main program is is like utilizing AI for stocks and trading and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
right.
Have you personally used that, or what's your
I have not. I think I love what Jeremy does because he educates. He's just trying to teach you how to actually be empowered to go do this yourself instead of rely. Because a lot of people, again, they abdicate responsibility. So I would rather have you learn how to invest in that one area that Jeremy teaches around options and making money off the stock market than to just abdicate responsibility to a financial advisor and say, go do this and produce this outcome for me. Because now you're empowered to monitor and be on top of it, good at it, and make it good. But is what I would recommend for people that choose to do that is I would recommend treat it like a business. So give it the time a business needs. Don't treat it like a hobby. Treat it as if this is your business, and every time you win, that's profitability and that's revenue. And treat it that way versus just trying to treat it as this quick get rich quick scheme. Because if you're looking for that, it's not going to work. Like you have to have the different, again, it's the perspective of people want their problem solved by money, but the money doesn't solve the problem. It's what happens when I have the money and what am I going to be doing. Like it all kind of relates back to our conversation today. So I love what Jeremy does. I think he's extraordinary. Anyone that gets into his program, I've seen do extraordinary things. But for me, in my individual investing, I have more upside inside my businesses at the current moment than I do by being distracted. That would be a distraction for me. And that's not for everyone. It would be a distraction on the time I have to spend on it. But everyone's in a different place and has different ambition. But for me, at the current moment, it would be a distraction.
Well, yeah, and for you, I mean, you're already so embossed in this, engrossed in this, and like you're already very knowledgeable of it and able to utilize. Plus, where your time is going in terms of everything else. I loved what you said there about the get rich quick and the money solving problems. Quick little detour here is I dated this guy for quite a while, and I recently met up with him for dinner or something like that, and he was always that guy who's like get rich quick, trying to find all these like little mini businesses, all these things on the side, whatever. Finally got into stock trading, and he's been doing it for years. He had a position where he had finally made his first million, except for the way he had it set up, he could not take it out, so he lost everything. And that was heartbreaking for him. but it like goes back to that like stop trying to get rich quick. And that's why I always try to tell him, I try to tell everyone else, like you see these super successful people, like you're working with an incredible amount of successful people. They may appear like they just came out and got really rich on their own, but they did not. They had people behind them and they have had a ton of work that went into it. But like for you, what have you seen that's like, the most outlandish story of people, trying to get rich quick, or just, not really understanding how much goes into this wealth building? Because you guys are looking at so many aspects when you're helping people really set this up. Like, what's a heartbreaking moment and also a big win that you've seen by helping people this way?
Yeah, so I think this is really a paradox here because ironically, you actually can do this very quickly, but you have to do a lot of work before it. So that client I was talking about that had about the $20 million value business, like to get to that point already, there's a lot of work that went to make it. They had to learn how to sell, they had to learn how to email, they had to learn how to market, they had to fix all their tech stuff as they increased their client. So they went through all this growth just to get to there. But all of those learning experiences are now going to give them the permission to make that $250 million outcome in a 3 to 5 year period, which is very, very like that's a very quick time frame. But you can't look at it in that three. You have to look at the whole journey that they went on to get to that. So that's how I would describe is a big win is their instance because we haven't done their valuation. We'll do it again here in the next quarter or so, but they're probably at a $50 million valuation. So they basically doubled their valuation in like a 9 month period just because of the acquisitions that happened. So like that's a huge win and it happened very quickly, but you can't look at that. You have to look at all the because the reason they're able to do this is because they have the business skills now to insert all because all these businesses that they have all the same problems that they already went through. So they can fix them, they can integrate them, they can sync them in. But if they didn't go through that, it would be it would be hard for them. Like they I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but they would have to go. There would be a lot of pain. The revenues of the business would probably drop. It would go down and then bounce back up when they figured it out. But does that help answer the big win and like how it's kind of you can go fast? It just is. There's a lot of stuff around it that makes it go fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. And it's so impressive that you guys are going to, they have a 3 to 5 year plan to hit that big of a goal. Like, that's huge. And also to, double their evaluation in 9 months. Like, that's massive. And that's because they're working with the right people and they have the right planning in place. You guys are working hands on with them, and across your entire team, you guys are all aligned on the strategy and you're able to strategize and come together and figure out what that is. So when people, can you just tell them, a little bit more about like who are your ideal clients that we can, connect you with, and how can they best connect with you and your team?
Yeah, so we're gonna work best with people that really want something big. So they're not looking for the everyday outcome that most people hit. So if you just want like a 2 million to $5 million net worth, which is you should be patting yourself on the back for even creating that type of wealth. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to make anyone feel guilty around that's your aspiration. But if that's what you desire and that's like what your final outcome is, that's really not who we're going to help best. We can help you, like we can help you save taxes and we can help you create an exit that produces a $1 million exit or things like that. But our bread and butter is when people want the 8 or the 9 figure exit and they want the 8 or 9 figure net worth because they want the big impact and they have something that they want to accomplish that the money is going to help them accelerate it through. So that's who we help the best. Usually it's people that are 35 to 55 years old. Like it's just people that have established businesses. They're not doing startups. They've already figured out the game. They've been running the business for a long time. They went through a lot of bumps and bruises. Those are the people that usually work best with us. But if you're brand new and you have high ambition and you want that, we can help you make it happen. So you don't have to have an established business. If you want that, we can do it. It just is our typical person is who I just described.
Absolutely. And that's to work with you guys one on one. I know you mentioned to me before that you have some options that are a little bit more like group setting, or where they can, get ready for that phase of working with you guys one on one. But really, who you're going to be the most impactful for are those, people who have that vision and, they're looking for that big exit and the plans and the strategies to behind all of it: wealth building, tax saving, exit, all the good things.
100%.
What is,
Yep.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. Yep. Sorry.
Oh no, I didn't mean to talk over you. What's the best way for people to connect with you? Big Life Financial, obviously, we'll share his information in the show notes. But do you prefer? Yeah, how do you like to connect?
Yeah, so biglifefinancial.com. Honestly, I'm really easy to access on the social media. So on LinkedIn, Instagram, X. So if you really want to get a hold of me, just type in Justin D. Maxwell. I'm the only one that pops up, and then you can just reach out to me, connect me. I have a speaking website that if you really wanted me to speak at an event or you felt like I would be valuable there, you can book a time and book a call with me there and see if I'd be a good fit for your audience. But those are the ways that I would recommend people to reach out.
Perfect. We'll make sure all of that is in the show notes, guys, so you can definitely connect with Justin after this. And Justin, if you have time, can I ask you just one more question?
Yep, go for it.
All right. In terms of leadership and like lessons around leadership, what is one that you have learned while growing Big Life Financial that's been super powerful for you?
Yeah, so we model one of my business partners gave us a really cool leadership tool called the 5 keys. But inside the 5 keys, key one is you have a vision that's personally created that gets integrated into the why of the business so that everyone on your team knows exactly what's happening from the janitor to the new hire to your COO. Everyone's going to say exactly what we're building as a company, where we're going, why we're going there, but it's built on you as the entrepreneur deciding where it is you want, because that alignment isn't happening in a lot of companies. If you asked 6 people, like, what is it your company stands for? Where are they going? What are you trying to build towards? What type of valuation, what exit, whatever it is, no one would have it. Everyone would give a different answer or say, I don't know. So having that vision gives a lot of clarity to the direction, but it's all because we're going back to, if we went back to that story, the $250 million of what it is, the why behind the 250 million and the political nature and the laws changing, like that is driven all the way through the business. Now they don't have to know the intricacies, all that, but the size of the company and who we're trying to help and why, that story is told all the way from top to bottom. So everyone's on board. If people aren't on board, they'll exit out from your business and you'll attract people that will be on board with it. People like to follow people with visions.
I love that. That's so powerful. I feel like that's been a big theme. A lot of the big, there was one of the people there at Four Rooms where I saw you last who had grown his coaching business to 9 figures in less than 3 years. And his exact same answer, it has to be the vision and your why behind it, the vision, the mission, and just constantly keeping the team integrated with that and knowing what that is. So you're attracting the right people. And that's why, when we're connecting and hiring people, that's a big part of what we're looking at too, is the match to the vision and the mission. So I love that. And I really, really appreciate you sharing all this. And everybody, please make sure to follow and check out Justin D. Maxwell. We'll make sure all of his information is in the show notes. Big Life Financial. They are incredible. Highly recommend working with these guys.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for being here, and we'll talk soon.